Welcome to Computer Repair Podcast, episode number 305, Untangle. I'm your host, Jeff Halash. This is our live show where we discuss the ins and outs of running your computer repair business. Our show today is brought to you by Instant House Call, remote support that is easy for you and your customers to use. This is a must-have tool with features like on-demand for your break-fix customers and unattended for managed services. You can do automatic repairs with the auto repair built-in software, and it will save you time and money when you are supporting your customers. Check it out for a free trial at instanthousecall.com. Use the offer code PODNUTS. And also by Reclaim Me Pro, the all-in-one highly configurable data recovery software for both beginners and experts. For a free 14-day trial, go to reclaimme-pro.com. Use the offer code PODNUTS for a 50% discount. All right, let me introduce the co-hosts. We have a huge panel here today. This is going to be awesome. First off, we have John Dubinsky from the Maven Group. John, how you doing?
Happy New Year, everybody. 2019, or 2019, right? Hey, I already failed. You guys bring the CRP. I'll try not to bring any more A with it. So if you know what I mean.
Thanks, John. And also we have Rick Smith from Renactus Technology. Rick, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Happy New Year, everybody.
And also Mike Smith from MHS Consulting and the Mike Tech Show. Mike, how you doing?
Hi, doing good. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you, man. And we have Steve Young from Untangle. Steve, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having us here, and we're excited to be on this panel with you.
No problem. Great to have you. And also we have Chad McNaughton. Did I say that right, Chad?
Masterful.
Okay, from Untangle. How you doing, Chad?
Good. How are you guys? Thanks.
Good to have you. All right, so we're going to start off the show again with we're going to share a tip or story that we could learn from. And John, I'm going to kick it off to you.
Excellent. Couple quick tips as usual. So to start the new year, I might have a link in there about of an article I read about management mistakes not to make in the new year. It's just a list of 5, but it has some great tips like not focusing too much on projects and not focusing too much on a project, but not on operations. Just little things to consider as you're moving through the new year. I stumbled upon a pretty neat, I don't know what they call them, infographic that has a comparison of the top 20 internet giants listed from 1998 to now. And it's interesting just to look at this, to watch like America Online fall to nothing and Google move from the bottom to the top over that time frame. So I'll have that link in the show notes, but that's an interesting one to look at. Another one I stumbled across that I think you should check, especially if your customers are utilizing any Chromecast. There's an interesting Chromecast hack now, and I don't mean to hack to improve your Chromecast. I mean Chromecasts are being hacked from the outside. So Sophos has an interesting article on that and how to address that and protect yourself against it. Again, as MSPs, we're in the target field. A large MSP over there in California just had a ransomware attack. And so I just bring that up to make sure that everybody's paying attention that, hey, we have all of our customers' data so that we are, all our logins, all that interesting stuff that we have so that we can service them better. Keep in mind that's a target-rich environment for the bad guys. And 2 quick last ones at the end. Every year, it seems like a big group of us go to the Channel Pro SMB Forum in Chicago. The date and time has been set for that, so I'll shoot that into the show notes. And then, of course, 2019, it should already be on your calendar, TechCon 2019. I'll put a link in the show notes for that.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. And Rick, I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to you.
Okay. Well, I guess mine is more of a tip than a story, but it derives from what I've realized the last 2 weeks, and I've probably said this before, and I'm just in your year the way you want to start your year. And I promised myself from the beginning of October I was going to take the last week off and just do a little admin but not work. I wanted to get some things prepared for next year, some experiences I've had. I wanted to run a little smoother, change over some of my inventory, my product mix from in my Synchro, a couple other admin things I wanted to do. Had some customers that I gave estimates to January, February, September, whenever. Of course, the last 2 weeks of the month, everyone wants to get it done. And me not saying, hey, I can't do it, I'm closed. Instead, what do? I do it all. And now I've kind of screwed myself a little bit because a lot of the admin stuff I just wanted to get done did get done. So I guess there's two things to say. One, take that time you need sometimes and let the money go, let the work go, all those things if you just need some downtime or some admin time. And two, say no or later.
There you go. That's good advice there. Something we all need to be reminded of that, probably periodically, maybe even quarterly. All right, Mr. Mike Smith, what do you got for us this week?
Hi. Well, here you go. A tip built around a story. Something I never thought I'd be doing. I spent all day Friday building an XP SP3 system. I had a client that I haven't dealt with in a long time. I get an emergency call during the week. Their main system that they need that has this old software that can't run on anything else and can't run virtually is now down. And I told him we needed way back that we should have a clone of this. It's so important. Didn't listen to me, said no, I don't want to spend that very small amount that I said. Now, by the way, it's like already quadruple. So I have to go on eBay to get a system delivered quickly that can run XP. And it comes with XP Home. And it's a old Dell Optiplex. I am so glad I have not thrown away my old CDs. And this is the tip. Don't throw away those old CDs. I pulled out an original Dell XP with SP3 built in, and that saved the day on Friday as I built the system and got it up and running. And then this custom card that you got to put in to communicate with the equipment, got that running. And then I told my client, and this is the lesson, I forced him, I said, now you see what you're going through and your whole business is down. When we make sure all this is running, I'm going to clone that drive and we're going to buy another system just like this. And you're going to put it in a closet and you're going to save it until we have the next emergency. So, and he says, yes, I'm going to do it. So anyway, keep those old CDs and DVDs. So I can't believe I had to buy something on eBay. So that was,
wow. That's a good advice. It's funny because as I was cleaning up and Rick, sorry, but I was doing some admin work at the end of the year. I went through my old CD folders and I kept all those CDs all the way back to, actually, I think mine even go all the way back to Windows 2000.
wow.
So, just, you never know. You're going to run in that one situation where you need that disk for whatever reason, even just to get the system started. So it makes sense.
And especially old server. You never know what you're going to run into. Old server builds and disks and, also SQL. That's something I never throw away, a SQL CD or DVD, because you never know when you're going to run into that client that has that old SQL database and you got to get the media. And by the way, this old Optiplex, I was very disappointed when I ran the service tag on Dell, no drivers. They only had the BIOS. There were no XP drivers to download because I still needed the Ethernet and the video, and I had to search for that online from another source to be able to get the drivers. So that's another, you can't count on Dell to retain all of those old drivers for all of those old systems. I was shocked. I really thought pumping that tag in, I was going to get that, but
wow,
that was something I learned. So anyway.
Good lessons all around. All right. How about you, Steve? You have any tips or a quick story for us this week?
Well, we're a firewall company, so our biggest tips. You'd be surprised how many people stay on versions that are years old, and sometimes yes, it does require a reboot, but in the IT field, it's like rebooting should be part of your life. So upgrade to the latest firewall version and reboot if you have to. So
awesome, great tip. And in chat, how about you?
Do you guys know Pornhub has a mobile app? That's a real thing. I didn't know this until summertime. We are a firewall/UTM product. We're a unified threat management. So we're a content filter, a virus blocker, a firewall, all kinds of stuff. So content filtering is a big part of that. And the question I get asked in pre-sales and webinars is blocking porn, et cetera, et cetera. And that came, the story is that actually I work out here in the Denver office with our support team, our tech hub. And there was a panicked school admin on the phone. We blocked Pornhub, but they're on Pornhub on their tablets, on their phones. So we jump into reporting real quick and we see Pornhub's blocked, but then we come over here to this different app that shows mobile applications. And we have that kind of visibility, and we crack HTTPS open and look inside and all that stuff. And we say, oh, wow, look, this is a new thing. So there's about 30 of those kind of mobile applications that you actually have to block as well as URLs now.
That is a great tip, because I'll tell you what, that's probably something that people don't really think about.
And it's something that honestly, we weren't really that aware of it. That application of ours has close to 2,000 mobile app signatures in it. So it's not a list that I've got memorized for sure. You know, I know the 20 all-stars or so. But now the little search box, if you type in porn, there's a few. If you type in adult videos, you get a lot more than that. I actually don't show those off anymore because some of them are very offensive. But there's about 24 in our signature set alone. So that was real interesting to us. We're really popular in the educational market, especially here in the States and in Canada. And that's a hot topic.
Yeah, that definitely is. Yeah, especially in the school system, that's for sure.
Yeah. So it's something we blocked, surely. You know, we just didn't know it was there. So
now we all do. Good things to block. All right. So my real quick tip is, and this is a question and going along with a tip. So I ran into a problem last night where a customer contacted me and said, hey, I was trying to translate my email into Spanish, and in doing so, my email, which he uses Wide Open West or Huawei, and when you go to the webmail, everything, all the commands and everything are in Spanish. So he's like, hey, can you take a look at it and change it back? This is one of my managed clients, not a problem. So I remote in, I'm looking around, I can't figure out for the life of me how to change it back to English, because I can get it to where Google Chrome or a browser will translate the page, but it says it's translating it from Spanish back to English. So I'm looking through and so anyways, long story short, I couldn't figure out how to do that for the life of me. So if anybody out there knows, and here's the bad thing. Here's where my tip comes in. If your clients, anyone, residential or otherwise, are using their ISP's email, tell them to stop now. There's no point. You've got all these free email services out there, and I'm sorry, even if you don't want to give your information to Google, Gmail is not going anywhere. So it's probably a pretty safe bet. Don't put them over on AOL. Don't put them to Yahoo. Just get them on a nice Gmail address. And if they're a business, obviously they should be doing it through a domain using Office 365 or the Google stuff there. So make sure that you let your clients understand that webmail in and of itself, Gmail's fine, but some of these ones for these ISPs, there is little to no documentation other than the basic how to set the webmail up in a client like Outlook or Windows 10 Mail or et cetera, et cetera. So anyways, that is my real quick tip for this week. All right, let's take a quick break, and then we're going to get into our main topic, which obviously we're talking about Untangle, firewalls, unified threat management, and all the above. TechCon Unplugged, September 20th through the 22nd, 2019 in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Here's what you're going to get. Okay, the tickets are $199. I know to some, they might say that's a lot. To others, they might say that's not a lot. But here's what you're going to get for that $199. All meals and snacks at the event. That's a Friday night get-together and meal. That's a Saturday breakfast and lunch with some snacks in between. That's a Sunday with breakfast and lunch. Oh, and did I mention we're going to Dave & Buster's on Saturday night, and that meal is included too. Plus, you're going to get a little card that they're going to give you a little bit of money where you can play some of the games and then add to it as you wish. But really, you can go there. Ticket covers all of that. And also, on top of that, the best thing is you're going to get good, wholesome IT content with community invested vendors. And that's what we're all looking for. We all want to learn from each other, and we want the vendors out there that are community invested into what we're doing in our businesses and want to come alongside of us so that they can make money and stay in business. We can make money and stay in business, and we have this win-win situation. Go to techconunplug.com. Oh, did I mention also the hotel rooms are $102 a night? Doesn't get any cheaper than that. And guess what? You don't have to pay for parking. So come on in. It's real close to the airport, and we are going to have a wonderful time. John's going to be there. Mike Smith's going to be there. I'm pretty sure Rick Smith is going to be there. And we've got Marvin B., Paco LeBron, obviously, who's really spearheading this whole thing. Again, I'm just the face. He's the brains behind the operation. And so we're putting all this stuff together. We've got our first meeting tonight. We're going to be putting together content, and we'll have some stuff for the content up on the website shortly, and just let you guys know what you're going to get. But it really doesn't matter what it's going to be. It's going to be good. I guarantee you that, because it's going to be coming from all of us inside this community. All right, techconunplug.com. Go there, get your tickets now. There's links for the hotels and all that kind of stuff. Get your room. Stay at the place where we're having the get together, because you can get up, walk downstairs, or ride in the elevator if you feel safe enough to do that, and get to the conference room and hang out. So, all right. I personally, I don't like being in elevators. I always have this worst case scenario where the elevator just kind of shuts down in between floors, and I get stuck with a bunch of people I don't want to be with. But anyways. All right, so let's talk about our main topic for today, and that is we have Untangled here. And so Untangle is we talked about this before, and I think you guys heard it in the tips. Basically a firewall, unified threat management. It does a bunch of different things. So what I'm going to do is, I don't know who wants to take this first, Steve or Chad, but maybe, actually, I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and start with Steve. Kind of give your background a little bit, and basically how you got started with where you're at now, as far as getting started in the business and getting to where the position you're in now.
Okay, well, thanks for that introduction. Yeah, so I'm based here in the San Francisco Bay Area, so tech is pretty much everywhere. And so out of college, I worked for a bunch of tech companies, and eventually I saw Untangle had an opening, and applied, and now I'm on the marketing team for Untangle, and I handle all of our international value-added distributors, as well as our channel programs here in the U.S. And so that's kind of just like a quick, dirty overview.
Okay, awesome. Great to have you here, and we'll be excited to hear more about this product. Chad, why don't you go ahead and give yourself a quick overview there of basically how you got started and how you got to where you're at now?
Yeah, thanks. I got started in IT probably around 2008. Just fell into it kind of as at a public library. I was the computer guy at the library. And it was one of my favorite jobs I've ever had, to be perfectly honest. After that, I moved into a big high volume help desk. And then from there, this was all in Oklahoma 4 or 5 years ago, where I'm from. I moved to Denver. And the job I got here was Untangle. I actually came to Untangle as a level 1 tech customer service rep 4 years ago. And now I'm one of 2 pre-sales engineers. I handle some of our social media. I host webinars, I make training videos. We have a thing called Untangle University Steve and I work on, that I make a lot of training videos for, so people get sick of my voice, but oh well. But this was my first foray into network security. So I ended my IT gig after 4 years back home as a NOC technician running a network operations center overnight. And I was basically the guy who alerted the guys who fixed things. And I was like, well, it's more interesting to be those guys. I'm just setting off alerts. And so I found this job when I got here, and I saw what they did, and I played with the software online, and it was impressive to me. And it's a really cool little laid back company. We have, like Steve said, Steve's in our San Jose headquarters. I'm out here halfway between Denver and Boulder. It's a real cool little place. They've been really good to me, and I like what we do. It's I used to be a high school teacher, so I'm somewhat passionate about blocking the porn. It's a necessary evil. It is. But I like our vibe in this industry, because we're still a small business. This is our niche, is small to medium businesses. Untangle, Steve, we're like 46, 47 people, right? Worldwide. But we have about 53,000 installs worldwide.
Wow. So
our 4 support techs that sit over here and just won another gold award are pretty great, to be honest, to manage that kind of stuff with the numbers they do. It's just a really different vibe, and that's why I like it so much. The software to me speaks for itself. But the company is really cool, and we're not new. You know, if you guys don't know, this is Untangle's 16th year in existence, but we're still small. You know, so that's a big difference to me in this little niche of ours.
Awesome. That's a great background. And yeah, I'll be excited to hear more about Untangle and basically what it is and what it can do for us. So right now I'm going to say, John, Mike, and Rick, if you guys, I'm going to have these guys give a little bit of background about their, what this product can do, but in any time, feel free to jump in and ask questions, and we'll kind of just make this a roundtable event where we get the information and get the questions answered that either you want answered, or people out there are going to want certain answers to questions that maybe you're not hearing from this conversation. So who wants to, Chad, Steve, who wants to kick it off as far as kind of giving a background of what you're Steve, you're the marketing guy, so why don't you go ahead and tell us from your perspective, what is Untangle and basically what does it do?
Well, Untangle is essentially, like Chad said, we're a unified threat management firewall solution. We're software-based. And really, we were designed for the small, medium businesses from the ground up. So our founder, Dirk Morris, back in the day, was, when they were designing this product, they really was targeting the small, medium businesses. So you have all these other competitors and all these other firewall companies, threat management companies out there who have these enterprise level solutions that they basically say, we're going to put these out there for the big boys. And then, for the little guys, we'll take away this feature, we'll take away this feature, and then we'll charge you an arm and a leg for, things that you can't have. So, our approach is completely kind of like from the ground up versus from the top down. And so I think that's what kind of is the thing that makes us unique versus other firewall and UTM companies. And so taking that kind of approach, we definitely serve the small, medium business niche quite, exclusively almost. And so, we work with all of our VAR MSP partners to, serve that niche, So, when MSP partners are like, well, yeah, I have a small office here, that has 10 users or something like that. And we're like, all right, yeah, cool, perfect. You guys are right in our alley. Whereas, like one of the big guys would be like, I really couldn't care less about the 10, office opportunity. We serve those markets and we take a priority and we provide top level customer support and top level technical support to those customers because we actually do care about those small guys.
That's awesome, because a lot of businesses out there nowadays, they seem to forget sometimes where they came from. And just knowing that you guys are a 16 plus year company and you're still a relatively small company. And let's be honest, most of the companies out there are not as big as they present themselves to be. But it's just awesome that it sounds like you guys are customer focused, taking care of the customer. If you've got 4 people taking care of, 50,000 plus installs, I mean, it's like, that's just amazing. All right. So Chad, from your perspective, so give me the nuts and bolts of what is a firewall. What is a UTM? What the heck can it do for our businesses, for those small shops? Or I would imagine even we're getting probably to the point where residential people probably need to have stuff like this installed in their homes.
Well, I run it in my house. I have for a long time. I mean, I got a pretty good discount on an Untangled box, but part of my spiel in pre-sales and when I host our webinars is it's 2019. If you have a public IP, you need something like this. If you have a router at your house, you need something like this on it or behind it. So that's an interesting thing about Untangle. It's built to be a gateway device. The architecture of Untangle, it's an inline filter. It doesn't do reverse proxy. It's not a proxy that you point to. It sits as your router or behind your router. So like at my house, I have a little all-in-one Netgear that I bought, Wi-Fi router. Once I, put the Comcast router on the funeral pyre and sent it off into the lake, I went and bought a little all-in-one. So I just slid my Untangle in behind that in what we call transparent bridge mode. So my Untangle is actually a second source of firewalling because it's behind a firewall. That's an interesting thing about our architectures because in bridge mode behind a firewall, we do firewalling at layer 3 and layer 7 as well. So people think of us as one thing or the other a lot still. You know, we're a web filter, we're a firewall, we're a traffic shaper, but it is an all-in-one thing now. That's the term I'm getting across more and more now is UTM. In the past, Untangle was what people call a free firewall. And up until recently, I think probably until 2016 or so, one of our number one competitors was pfSense, which I love as a product. Those are awesome little boxes. pfSense doesn't have any layer 7 identifiers anymore on their own. You have to put Squid on top of pfSense now if you want to filter content or anything like that. So we're apples and bananas with those kinds of things now, you know, because we offer all that layer 7 functionality. So when I say behind a firewall, we could technically be a second and a third firewall, because we do firewalling all the way up at layer 7, the application layer of the OSI model. So that's a real different feel with a firewall. You know, it's built to be a gateway device, but even behind a firewall, we can do stuff your Cisco ASA 5000 series that's end of life can't even try to do. You know, I can block every client IP in Russia with 3 clicks in our firewall app, and that's a popular feature at home nowadays. You know, we do offer a home product. You know, if you guys don't know, you can get Untangle at home for $50 a year. You know, and I ran it on a little Linksys box for 2 years, and it was great. You know, until I killed it. I mean, I killed that thing, but we're getting smaller and smaller and more into the home market. You know, so we're pushing into ARM architecture, so we have firmware for that now, and that's kind of the way things are going. Are smaller and to me, smaller networks that need more protection. You know, that's like Steve said, real small businesses. Excuse me, I have a cold. I'm trying to do my best to mute when I cough and stuff. Apologies. I mentioned this on a lot of webinars too, and it's a cliche now, but especially for really small business owners, they don't know what they don't know until an MSP tells them what's happening. You know, so that's one of the cool things about Untangle is you can install it on almost anything. Virtually, you know, we sell hardware. You can throw it on your own hardware. We actually list all of our hardware specs online if you want to kind of back engineer your own based on ours. It's a real open company. You know, I've never seen a company like this before, but we are a Linux product too. You know, so we're real in the Linux community, which is DIY or die. So you can see our specs online. You can see our pricing without talking to 10 salespeople, and it's a real different feel. But the box itself is interesting. The architecture of it. Is similar to other things, you know, Sonic Wall and Sophos. These are inline filters. You know, those are our main competitors still for the most part. Software-wise is where I think we're very different. Like I said, we run Linux. It's Linux Debian. Stretch is the kernel now for our newest version. So that reduces overhead just immediately. You know, it's a really, really light OS. So I think that the main difference about Untangle is the underlying OS and the software are not like anything else you'll ever see in our industry. Steve mentioned our founder, Dirk Morris, who you can see on our website if you go. There's a little video of him looking like a deer in the headlights with a camera in front of him. He looks awesome. You know, Untangle exists because Cisco was hard to use back in the day, and Dirk was angry about it. You know, so he built GUIs. So Untangle is Linux Debian, and you don't have to know command line. And I tell people that on every single demo I do. You'll never see it if you don't want to. So it's a real different feel, I think. That's my time. All right. Thanks. It's real different, but it still does all that stuff easier and as good as, I think, our competitors.
That's good. That's good to know. Yeah. A lot of times when you say things like Linux, a lot of people will go, oh, I don't want nothing to do with that. But when you say that you don't have to use a command line, or if you want to use a command line, you have that power there to use it. But a lot of people just want, hey, you do the back end stuff. Let me just put it in place. All right. So I want to ask Mike Smith, since you've been using this product for quite a while now, what are some of the things that you've been, or I guess what sold you on the product and started you down this path of using it for some of your customers?
Right. I have 4 clients. I have 2 attorneys, a doctor's office, and a big manufacturer that have Untangle. And matter of fact, 2 of them were appliances, and the other 2 were built, you know, Frankenstein boxes, and then download it and then subscribe to the software. So interesting. Couple things. One, I played with it a while back as a Linux distribution, and just to have fun and play with it for myself. And that's what I thought was very cool. And I always promote that for any tech that needs to get into getting. We have to have some kind of a product to offer, some kind of a service, some kind of value add to what we're doing for businesses. And I really wish I could do even more deploying, but a lot of the small businesses are happy just with the default ISP. But now as things are starting to take off, like Chad mentioned, and you really got to lock down and you got to put another device in. So a quick story as to one of my clients that has 87 devices. So we had to get the 100 license. They didn't want to renew it a year ago. And then we were flagged by someone in the company downloading stuff from a Comcast flagged us downloading movies, and we got like a cease and desist from the Stars network, as part of Comcast. And so all of a sudden the CFO's bringing me these letters they just got, and I said, we need to re-up our software license for Untangle. I said, we have the box, we have the capability to block this. And bang, we activate, that was an easy activation now forever. That's in the budget to renew forever. That was easy because now we're blocking it, and it stopped. And it's very easy to do because of the application for web filtering. It's just literally check boxes. So one other thing I got to do. I can't believe you said, Chad, you only had 4 people in tech support. I think that's unbelievable. That's
4 and a manager.
Okay. Well, is Tiffany still there? Because let me tell you,
Tiffany's the manager now. Yeah.
And that makes sense. So I only had one interaction with tech support, and it was a big problem, and it was for this client. And she walked me through doing an upgrade where I back up all the configurations and do everything. Anyway, it was incredible tech support. That's why today, when I heard there was only 4, I said, that can't be. I got such personalized attention from this Tiffany person. See, I remember her name, because it was so good, and followed up. And it was a tremendous experience. And that is what anybody can be good when everything's going well. It's when you really need the help, and that shows. So that's how you won me. It was the tech support. And now I got to go to the next piece, and maybe you could discuss or put websites in the links, how to become a partner. I'm not even a partner yet, and I got 4 devices out there. So that's something. Right now, I usually use their credit card to go online and buy it. Like, I'm not getting any credit. So that's one of the things I got to work on. I'm very bad at that. So talk about a product and then don't get the credit. But what I'll do is, but I love it. I've drank the Kool-Aid for Untangle, and we can see it, and it's the reporting that I really like, because it's easy. I don't know anything about this, and it's like I can get the reports real simple and just show management what they need to see, what it's blocking. And something else for everybody that's listening here, you kind of justify your existence because you're managing something like this. And I will say this, because of this and this incident, I had to give a little presentation at the board of directors meeting for this company, because they wanted to know, what are we doing for intrusion prevention, intrusion detection? How are we monitoring? And what's the IT guy doing? And I'm the only one. I'm a consultant. And it was real nice being able to describe what Untangle did in a couple paragraphs and showing them a couple reports, and they were like, okay, this is good. So it's just another reason to help. I think we always need that. No one knows what we do behind the scenes, and this is a device that's logging it. So that kind of helps. So anyway, I didn't want to come off as a big commercial, but that's
Mike told me.
Well, I didn't know. I want to hear more about that home product, which I know nothing about, for putting in the homes. That's down the, as we go forward here today.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm very interested in that too.
So just a quick heads up. I'm going to have a ton of links in the show notes for everything Untangle. So partner program, all that kind of good stuff. It'll be in there.
John is the man. Thank you, John. Appreciate it. All right, Rick, go ahead and tell us basically the same thing I asked Mike, was where you got started with Untangle and how it's why you decided to jump on board, and that's your firewall of choice.
Well, I'm actually, a lot of it I'm going to say is going to echo what Mike said, but I think maybe 6, 8 years now, somewhere in that area, maybe 6 years. I was in a forum somewhere looking for a firewall. Was never really big on it, and I always could not stand some of the other ones that I would run into customers they would have because they were never simple. So I was a forum. I wish I could remember where, but someone mentioned it, so I went and I downloaded it. And this was way before Box. They had their own devices. So basically, like you said, took an old machine that I had in my house, my office / home, built it, threw it on there, and was running it. And dug into it. Really was impressed with it. So I started to get clients that needed firewalls or had crappy firewalls or thought that Linksys was a firewall for their business. I started deploying it, and essentially what I would do is you'd have an old machine, and we basically just build a box. I build a box, throw it on, do the subscription, and run it. And one of the things I just heard Mike talk about, he didn't know about the partner program, he didn't know about the home product. And I realized I didn't know these things either. Paco mentioned the partner program to me a week or two ago. And I said, wow. And what I realized is I've been deploying this thing for a long time, throwing it on boxes. And maybe a year ago, 6 months ago, I realized they made their own appliances, because once you throw this on, you rarely go back to the site for anything. It runs well as long as over the years I've learned how I want to deploy it, how I want to run it. So I rarely have to go back to the Untangle site for anything. You can get updates right through your box. So every time I go back, like I realized when Paco said, I said, wow, I didn't even know they had a partner program. And when you go to the website, it's right there. It says partners, or you go to, it says home product. And I didn't know either, because I don't spend much time on the site now. Maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. Maybe I need to do a little more research of the product. But I've had a very good experience over the years. I still run it on my home office. I push all clients now to when I take you on as an MSP, particularly, you have to have a firewall, and you're not going to get away with, the Comcast router, or we have Optimum Online here as well. So things like that, you're not going to get away with running for your business. So we've been deploying a lot of those, and still I haven't. And I'm going to start doing this, is looking into the actual appliance and not just building, using old boxes just to do it. But you can run those things. They run well. Doesn't take much horsepower at all. So any particularly quote unquote older machine or out of commission machine will work well to cover, the largest I've deployed is up to, I think, 64 units. So, and they still run well. So I'm very happy.
Okay. Again, I'm sold again. So Steve, is there anything that you want to say at this point as far as, the product, or maybe some of the stuff that's been touched on as far as these guys' experiences with Untangled, and obviously your own experiences being on the inside?
Chad, maybe Chad is the technical expert here, but maybe you want to talk about Command Center and how that you can manage all of your Untangle appliances from a centralized cloud location, and we actually just made it free with all of our complete packages too. So maybe you want to talk about that.
You guys could have led with that.
Stuff that used to cost money but is free now. So yeah, and Rick, like you were saying, if you don't hang out on the site very much anymore, but now that's where centralized management is. So if you go to untangle.com and you sign in now, that will take you to Command Center. So MSPs, you can see all your boxes right there. You can push software there. You can remote in. We don't. You can actually remote into a box running our free package, Rick. You don't have to have the complete package even for remote access. I don't want you to leave those SSH rules open on your WAN IP anymore. We can kill that now. You go through our SSL proxy server now. So Command Center is awesome. It's really cool because you can get aggregate information reporting in the cloud. My new favorite thing is alerts in the cloud. There's an alert that's built into Untangle on the box that we build into every single build, and it says WAN is offline, and we want that alert there, but that's a It's kind of a lie. Should say WAN was offline. So now we can actually replicate that with an alert string in the cloud. The server itself is limited too. It only alerts you with the admin email. But cloud can send you a text, it can page you, it can send you a Slack message if you have a channel for IT ops or something, or it can email you as well. It's doing some really cool stuff. For MSPs, the new really interesting things you can do through the cloud are zero touch provisioning and pushing policies. For some of those small businesses, if you're an MSP that has 5 insurance agents, and they're all different organizations, you could set up that first insurance agent's firewall with all their compliance standards and save that as like a master appliance template in the cloud. You buy 4 more, you mail them out, and you push them down through the policy management in the cloud. So it's doing some really cool stuff. It's true centralized management. Like Steve said, it's free now. So that's pretty cool. The other real neat addition to Command Center that's another value add, I think, that we just integrated is our new partnership with Malwarebytes. You can actually run, you can initiate host scans from the cloud now. You can run nmaps from the cloud on hosts that have Malwarebytes on them. So it's a cool new partnership for us. We're also partnered with Bitdefender. That's what our virus blocker app is on the server. So that's actually runs Bitdefender at your gateway. And then we can enable Malwarebytes scanning on your endpoints. So it's a rich tapestry of antivirus, but Command Center enables a lot of cool stuff with that new Malwarebytes integration. Nice.
Yep. And one of my favorite features actually on Command Center is we can actually create templates and then synchronize, a master appliance across multiple appliances from your cloud. So if you're like a school administrator and you have multi-site locations with the same configuration, you're not having to configure the same appliance multiple times and repetitively. It's like a easy sync feature, 3 clicks of a button, 4 clicks of a button.
Mike, you were going to say something?
I have a question. With the Malwarebytes integration, is that available now, or you're just starting to roll that out? Is that available from the cloud?
It is now, yeah, as of about 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
About 3 weeks ago. Yeah.
So I can launch that from the cloud onto a workstation that's listed there and just say and scan.
We don't. Well, we're not actually pushing any client endpoint stuff. What we're doing is if that device has Malwarebytes installed, we activate the scan. Yeah, and port map scans from the cloud as well. You can actually see the software that's installed on the host, any web activity on it, all right there from this little Malwarebytes panel in the cloud now. So it's really slick. If you don't want to jump into the server right there to look at web sessions, you can just kind of see what it's doing on the web right there. It'll show you infections and threats and things like that. Okay. It's pretty cool. And it is brand new. I mean, it's our newest feature, so it'll get all the love here for the next few months and get even slicker. So it's pretty cool though. Yeah.
All right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's Malwarebytes. Is that Malwarebytes endpoint protection only, right?
Yeah, and it's basically the corporate level. So if you're a small business and you went with Malwarebytes, that's a really cool thing with us. And we have other things like that in the pipe too. But I love Malwarebytes. If you guys can tell, I'm an Apple user for better or worse. I've had one since like 1987. So Malwarebytes was one of the only antiviruses for a long time. So I've used them for years and years. And so I was stoked about that. I'll go ahead and get my license back up and running at home. I have about 6 devices I protect with Malwarebytes. So it's cool. Yeah.
Very cool. So, John, did you have any questions thus far of anything? I know that you and
I have several questions because I haven't drank the Kool-Aid, so I guess I got a different yet from a different perspective, and I'll address them both to Chad and Steve at the same time, and maybe I'll ask all my questions, and I'm asking for sort of an elevator pitch answer just because of time, but I use a different solution at this time, and for anybody else that is, my first question might be how or why is Untangle better? It just, in that position. What is the pitch from Untangle that would make an MSP's job easier? And that, just why would I go through the trouble of switching? The big thing I have with a lot of the other solutions I look at, and some of the other guys have addressed this too, is just visibility. So obviously for compliance and all that, the solution IE has intrusion prevention and detection and all that. And so does just about every other UTM out there. But sometimes getting that information into a viewable report or getting notified or actually understanding what's happening on your network is tough to do. And then the last question I might have on there is, those of us listening that want to taste and drink the Kool-Aid, is there any sort of thing in your partner program that allows for trading up or coming over from the dark side to the light? So
Steve, start with the last one. I'll do the others.
Okay.
Or not.
Trade up
Okay.
program.
You're back. Yeah, all right.
You're back.
Yeah. We actually do a trade in, trade up program. It's actually exactly what you're talking about, which is if you're coming from a competitor, we will competitively price, our products to compete against any of the competitors out there. So, whoever you're coming from, hardware, software.
Hardware or software. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
We caught most of that.
Apologies.
Yeah.
Apologies.
Yeah. He's right. But if they have a competitor's box, competitor's software, whatever it is, we'll throw a little something down on that with the trade-in program. But our support team also offers services where you can actually have them convert a competitor's configuration onto an Untangle box before we mail it to you. So we do professional services and things like that to minimize downtime for guys like you, just a little more plug and play. That's become a little bit less popular now that Command Center is so simple, to be quite honest. You can configure your box from the cloud now for the most part. John, repeat your question for me, your last question.
Let's see. How or why are you better? How can you make an MSP's jobs easier? Untakeable, how do you provide visibility for compliance? And you already did the trade up program. Visibility is a super easy one. Our reporting is pretty crazy now, to be quite honest. It got a lot of love over our last 3 or 4 development cycles. It runs a big SQL database. We can keep up to a year of information locally. We can offload that to syslog. We can offload stuff with Google Drive. If you want to just quick backup, folder on Google Drive, a little small business doesn't have a syslog server, or you don't. It's easy. One of the cool things, I think, is the Untangle dashboard that gives you real quick drill down conditions. You can just say, I want to see this user. I want to see this client IP's traffic over the last hour. I want to see the websites visited by username. So we can do all kinds of cool stuff like that. But we also do template summaries. So a CEO is going to want very different information every week than HR might want every day. So we do template configurations in our reports. So we have an article on our support knowledge base. We built one for a client once who wanted, he was a Sophos customer, and Sophos had something called an executive summary report that he loved, and he sent it to me, and it was stuff we do. We just didn't have it built right there. So my other sales engineer built it for him real quick and emailed him the JSON file, and he imported it, and it was perfect. And we got that customer from Sophos. The other reasons we got him from Sophos, segue, are things like Command Center. That's a big thing now, obviously centralized management, doing things, I guess, off premises, reducing overhead. I don't want you to have to drive to someone's site every time you have to check their server or something like that. So our footprint is really small hardware wise anyway. You get, like Rick was saying, you can install this on a little PC, if you throw a second NIC in it or something. Getting stuff off premises is big to me with small businesses and MSPs. And I'm not I'm not going to sing, the firewall as a service, the cloud stuff to super small businesses that don't have infrastructure in the cloud already. But that's also something else we do now too. You can run Amazon or us in Amazon Web Services. We've got an Azure build in beta. So firewall as a service is a new thing too that people are kind of jumping into. But when we go to battle cards, when it's us versus this guy, it almost always comes down to our reporting and our ease of use and deployment. I don't find other interfaces like ours in this industry. I'm obsessed. I stalk competitors pretty religiously. But ours is really slick, and I can't find another one like it. If you remote into one of our boxes from a tablet or a phone, the dashboard will just scale to match what it's displayed on. It's a really, really slick interface. So things that I think sell it to an MSP who have never even kicked the tires before, I hate to say it, but it's the looks for one. I mean, that's obviously what's going to get you in. You look at a Ferrari because of the way it looks, because the way it sounds. I don't know sometimes, but I think the deployment options are kind of unprecedented too in our industry. We do sell hardware. Like Rick was saying, we sell some cool boxes. Do I have one? I have one. They're little and they're cool. I mean, that's an Untangle box. This would run 50 hosts through it with layer 7 filtering. It's heat synced, it's got an SSD. It's not even $500. So quoting, getting to the bottom line is a cool, quick, easy thing on untangle.com too. So our partners love that. They don't have to go to sales reps if they don't want. Like you guys are saying, we do have a partner program. When you sign into our site, it gives you your discounts. You can do quotes online, all that fun stuff.
So I think the differentiators, the software kind of speaks for itself. But every time I talk to new partners or distributors who are onboarding, to be quite honest, it almost comes down to vibe. You know, there are not small businesses supporting small businesses in this industry, except for us and maybe one other one. I don't know. It's just a really different feel to me. You know, a little insurance agent, like I mentioned, with 3 employees doesn't want to call Cisco or Dell. You know, they don't have time to sit on the phone like that. So, you know, our support techs answer in 30 seconds and they remember your name and you remember theirs. And it's a very, very different feel, I think, in this industry. And especially with small businesses and guys like you who are trying to be kind of, you know, you're basically our tier 1 support for Untangle. You know, we don't outsource it, we don't tier it or anything like that. So that's a big part of what Steve and I do with things like Untangle U, is training MSPs up. You know, so when you do partner up with us, you have more access to like Untangle University. You know, you can get a level 1 Untangle technician certification now. 201 is coming here 2019. So I think we add a lot of value to being an MSP, because we're such a good, easy vendor to work with and get a hold of, to be quite honest. You know, you don't have to sweat, am I going to be able to escalate this tomorrow? You know, is anyone going to answer the phone? Well, we do. We always answer. I'll give you my phone number if you want it, John. I mean, geez, it's like that here, you know. So it's a real different place. The software and the hardware, I think, to be quite honest, I mean, it's selling itself almost. You know, I'm around to kind of take people on test drives, you know, and help you kick the tires as hard as you can. Untangle offers a free download for a 14-day trial. You can throw it on anything you want, play around with it. Before you partner up or buy. And then it doesn't turn off even when those expire. It just becomes a free firewall. All the free apps are still there. So yeah, if you want to play with it and have something spare, you know, throw it on there and just jump in. You know, I tell all the folks that I do demos with, MSPs, I want you to trial it, please. You know, you have access to our support team the entire time. You have a trial active that has our live support module in it. I encourage you to burn the rubber. You need to kick those tires hard. This is a thing you're going to sell to people, and it may say Untangle, but it's also got your name on it, you know? And that's a big thing to me with small businesses. I want that relationship to be right with you guys and with us and you guys. So if you come in and you want to be a partner with us and you say, well, I've never heard of Untangle before, what does it do? You and I are going to have like 2 or 3 good conversations, hopefully, and you'll download it and it'll kind of prove itself to you. But without rambling for too long, I think those are really the kind of differentiators. You know, the deployment is, I think, unprecedented in the options, and we're just kind of laid back and easy to work with, to be honest. Like Steve said, the trade-in program's always around. You know, if you have a customer who's got a weird, you know, budget and you just need a little bit different payment plan, just let us know. You know, let your sales rep know. There's all kinds of stuff we can get a little bit of slack with that some bigger companies couldn't, probably. You know, a little easier to work with, I think.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Great. Great explanation. Hey, let's take a real quick break and then we'll come back into, and I think I want to segue and we're going to talk about the home stuff, which some of the people in the chat room have been asking about. Our show today is brought to you by Reclaim Me Pro, a specially tailored data recovery toolkit for data recovery technicians, both beginners and experts. Recovers data from multiple file systems, including REFS, BTRFS, and VMFS. You can find lost partitions. Nothing is worse than losing a partition that you don't know where it is. And I say that, but I'm pretty sure that's happened to everybody in this industry at one point or another. Recovers data from various RAIDs, from RAID 0 to RAID 6. Reads most partitioning schemes from Microsoft LDM to Linux LVM. Wide range of supported NAS models, including Drobo devices. Powerful RAID recovery and RAID analysis tools for complex RAID recovery. Got to be able to get those RAIDs back. And this is a tool that will do it for you. Comprehensive technical support, including data recovery training, which is your key to understanding partitions, file systems, and RAID recovery. Try it free for 14 days over at reclaimme-pro.com. When you decide to purchase the software, use the offer code PODNUTS for a 50% discount. All right, so let's go ahead and I don't know who wants to talk about it, but Chad or Steve, if you want to ask a question. But what are you doing for the home users as far as getting a firewall installed, and what are some of the options out there?
Well, since I actually use it at home and Steve doesn't have it turned on yet, I'll, and this is the model I run at home. This is our U50, but I run the wireless model, so it's got 2 Wi-Fi antennas on the back. So this is actually my source of Wi-Fi at my house. That's cool to me because it simplifies your home network. You don't have to have an access point if you don't want, but if you do, I mean, this thing has 4 NICs on the back too. So just throw it in there and you can actually filter Wi-Fi traffic by interface if you want to. So I have actually kind of guinea pigged some of this stuff myself at home. I mentioned before the show, and I've run this on a Linksys router at my house. We have some weird little firmware versions that you can do. Our home version is interesting to me because it's our complete suite of packages minus the live support and the full virus blocking, because that's a really intense thing. And it doesn't like being installed on ARM architecture sometimes. So those are available as subscriptions you can purchase also. The virus blocker, I think, is pretty handy. As I mentioned, it runs a Bitdefender signature set at your gateway. So the kind of crux of my home discussions anymore when we do webinars and I do pre-sale stuff is kind of around IoT and mobile devices. Obviously, IoT specifically is a pretty fun, weird animal. They do things like transmit over HTTPS, but they don't have things like browsers, so you can't push a certificate to them and crack their HTTPS. So things like that, and things like intrusion prevention are probably the biggest questions I get from home users. Intrusion prevention is by far the hottest topic over the last 90 days. I don't know why. It's election news and CNN and all that stuff, and there's a lot of buzzwords out there, and to be perfectly honest, I don't blame them. It's a scary time to be maybe running a small business from home, or even to just have kids on the internet. So I don't blame anyone for wanting something like Untangle at their house, because like you said, your Comcast, your ISP router is not doing any of this stuff. There's a little thing that says web filtering is on in your admin panel. It's looking at HTTP. HTTP filtering is over in 2019. You can't filter the web if all you see is HTTP now. That's a big part of Untangle, stepping in the middle and decrypting that traffic. So I actually show folks a visual representation of that in our box. If any of you guys who have Untangle, you can go to your session viewer in Web Filter. There's one called All Web Events. It's a report, and that actually shows you every single packet going across port 443 and port 80. And for services we're decrypting, you can actually see the URI. You can see that breadcrumb trail because we're cracking HTTPS. And so to me, that's a big part of filtering a home network where there are kids is visibility. Maybe you're not blocking Facebook, but I bet you want to see where they're going. So 84 to 85% of the internet in the United States is HTTPS now. So like I said, virus blocking, content filtering, it's over for HTTP only, unfortunately. And I actually use antivirus as one of our best use cases for decrypting HTTPS, because do you really only want to scan 15% of the web? That's a scary thing to think about, at night. So intrusion prevention is the big one now, though. Content filtering, I think, like I said earlier, there are mobile apps that you may not expect that could be pretty nefarious, but a URL is still just a URL. Mobile applications are what are kind of changing content filtering, especially at home. Intrusion prevention is a very scary thing. We just revamped our intrusion prevention. We used to use Snort. Everybody knows Snort. It was open source intrusion prevention. We just moved to a new provider called Suricata, which I like a lot better. And I'll give you a pro tip right now for intrusion prevention. You probably don't need it at your house. With Untangle, because we're an inline box, when you drop us on the network, your LAN behind us, all those devices behind us, become sealed off to the world. So when you start needing intrusion prevention is when you go in and you start poking holes to or from the outside world with things like port forwarding or VPN, allowing things like that. That's when you're vulnerable. I personally don't do anything like that. I used to use OpenVPN just on my phone to my house. I don't really do it anymore. I keep those ports closed unless I need to open them for something specific. But I also keep my intrusion prevention set to detection instead of prevention. That's a very intense piece of software, intrusion prevention. So ours is kind of set to stun instead of kill out of the box, because we do have these home users who are maybe running it on a Linksys or, you know, a little spare PC, and I don't know what the resources are on that box. And intrusion prevention will drag it through the mud pretty fast if it's just all enabled. You know, it could even, you know, disable return traffic from things like Google. So it's kind of a gray area in the home market right now, I think, but everybody is very aware of quote unquote getting hacked, you know, their IoT devices getting botnetted and stuff like that. So just honestly dropping an Untangle right there kind of seals them all off. So we still protect IoT devices, even though you can't crack their HTTPS. You know, we protect them with filter rules and firewalling and all that kind of stuff. So they're very well protected. But you won't really get very good visibility into where your Nest thermostat goes, you know, outside of the host it visits. So the internet has changed a lot in the last 3 years, specifically.
So let me ask you this. So when you talk about basically dropping this bot, now when you talk about using it on a Linksys router, you're talking about you're actually connecting it to your router device, whatever brand it is, and it's in line, and that's the firewall, and then everything else is connected to that, correct?
Yeah. So you've got your ISP modem, whatever you've got, and then you put your Linksys running Untangle in transparent bridge mode, bridge to that router. So you're pulling all your DNS and everything from your ISP still, you know. And then behind that, yeah, you have a switch or you have your devices or whatever you've got behind us. So yeah, it's what's called an inline man-in-the-middle deep packet inspector. That's the full mouthful, if you want it. And to be honest, I clarify that a lot too. You know, man-in-the-middle is a pretty buzzy term these days, and kind of a gray area when people hear that and it hits their brain. So that's what Untangle is, though. You know, that's what any hacker is. You know, stepping in front of your request for an HTTPS site and the request being responded to. So that's what we do, you know. So it's a real easy thing. We do it through root certificates. You know, if you have something like Active Directory, I mean, everything's easier, but it's a real simple thing to do. Obviously mobile devices are hard, but yeah.
Hey, speaking of that, Chad, how do you handle the mobile workforce? Is there any way, either through proxy or whatever, that when those devices leave, that they can still be bound by Untangle?
It kind of depends on the devices, but yeah, we do. We use forced VPN. So we would just force them to connect back through the Untangle using us as the VPN server. We normally do that with OpenVPN, which is part of our free package. Yeah, super easy. It depends on the device. Obviously, you know, some things are working differently than others nowadays, but that's the simple way. There are a lot of, you know, a big push in American education to save money is, you know, doing things like Chromebooks, you know, one-to-one Chromebooks for students, because you can get them for like $80 a student, you know, and so that's a big part of our Untangle solution is we have to filter these Chromebooks when they're off campus. As long as you own those devices, that's a real simple thing to do. You know, you just go into your Google device management and you check that forced VPN box. So Untangle has a feature that's coming soon. I check forced VPN box ourselves. We don't have that yet, but that's how we do the mobile devices. It's not real complicated. You know, once you get them back through Untangle, they're just another device. Yeah.
Now, one of the questions that I know is it constantly asked when it comes to the more stuff you put in your system, how much does this slow your internet speeds down, et cetera?
The $1 million question. It's going to. I don't know of any deep packet inspection in the world that won't impact throughput, right? All of Untangle's hardware, even our little 299 2-NIC box has gigabit NICs. So we do really well up to those speeds. Obviously, enabling layer 7 apps changes that. And the big ones that change that are things like intrusion prevention and SSL decryption, just cracking HTTPS. So honestly, as long as the resources are there, I don't really think we have all that much of an impact. We go to great lengths to not bottleneck a device. That's a big part of why we stick to Linux Debian, because it's so smooth as an OS. But there's no way to not impact it, you know, and that's one of those numbers that we'll always post, you know, with apps turned off and benchmarks at industry standards. And my speeds have been amazing at home. My boss had his gigabit connection at 950, you know, so I've seen that, and I've also seen people who turn it on and it kills it, you know. So sometimes you have to just go in and tweak some things. We do, on our wiki page, we do have a performance guide table of which apps impact your resources the most. That's a really important thing for home users. Like I was saying, I'm not sure how great that hardware could be. So we do we do keep pretty abreast of those things, though. For instance, we just removed a pretty intense app from our recommended apps installer, for example. So these are our recommended apps. Well, this one was chewing up all your resources, so it's a light version and free software. So we'll skip that one, right? I really don't. I mean, there's no numbers, to just throw at you because it's always going to impact. But I have seen terrible impact and no impact with Untangle. So there's my open-ended gray area answer for our open-ended question. Yeah.
And it's more about usability than anything else. I could care less. You could throw me a number and that means absolutely nothing to me except what it's doing on my particular network. And what I would imagine is most of the time people are not going to feel the impact because let's face it, we've all had customers that basically it was normal for them to go turn on their computer, go make a pot of coffee, get that first cup of coffee, come down, and the computer was booting into Windows. And they were like going, hey, this is normal. This is what I do every day. And you're like going, I would shoot myself. I'm not going to do that. Are you kidding me? But people don't know. So as long as it's usable and it's like, yeah, I understand there's going to be an impact, definitely.
Yeah.
But with today's bandwidth, it would seem like it would be a lot less than what it was.
It is,
years ago.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a residential customer. I have Comcast residential and I have 150 megs down. Steve lives at home. He has 250 megs down. Those are not like it used to be, even a couple of years ago, residential lines. But we're a pretty international product and we work in parts of the world where, 10 megabits per second is expensive and that's a corporate line. So we do offer things like, quality of service at layer 3. We offer bandwidth control so we can shape traffic and stuff like that. WAN failover, WAN bond, or WAN, balancing, I guess. So we can help with throughput a little bit because we work in places like South Africa where the U.S. exchange rate for one is really bad, and then bandwidth and telecom infrastructure is not very good either. That's just a quick example, but there are 3 or 4 where we're really, really popular in that country, and their infrastructure is just not quite there for these kind of products. So we do things like traffic shaping and bypassing certain devices that don't need that bandwidth, all kinds of stuff like that. But it's always going to have an impact, and I get that question all the time, and that's my short answer, to be honest.
Hey, Chad, is there any advantage in there to using your own hardware versus your hardware there? I mean, if you think you're going to have that aspect, building your own super box might help versus using something you guys do or something like that.
Yeah, and it's especially for MSPs, I think it's kind of a personal flavor thing too. If you're a hardware guy, knock yourself out. You want to maintain your own boxes. You want to overspec everything. We have a lot of partners like that. We have a lot of partners who just want a turnkey box from us too. I just want that U25 every time because I do, home customers, et cetera, et cetera. So it kind of depends, honestly. I think I like virtualizing Untangle now too. So I've run an ESXi for the last couple of years and it's been really, really stable and awesome. So I don't know. It's like a 4-sided coin toss to me now. So to me, the benefit of Untangle hardware is a warranty. If you're not comfortable building and maintaining your own hardware, that's when I think you come to us for a box.
Okay. Are you guys partnered with anybody else, Steve or Chad? Meaning, you mentioned Bitdefender, Malwarebytes, any RMMs you're integrated with, or any other service providers like that?
Steve, still Ninja, right? Ninja RMM.
No, we're not actually partnered with Ninja.
All right, never mind then. All right. A lot of our databases come from big vendors, though. A lot of that's freeware, So the big categories in WebFilter, for example, come from a company out here called Zavello. We use Procera networks for mobile apps, things like that. Hardware-wise, we have 2 or 3 different manufacturers. You may have noticed this one. You can see these on Amazon. This little Quotum box, These are all over Amazon now, little mini PCs. This was kind of an experiment about a year ago, to be honest, this little X series, and we didn't know if we wanted to keep making them, but we can't keep them on the shelves. So I guess that's a green light. So
That's good.
But we make those and ship those out of the Colorado office here. So our bigger kind of rack mount devices come from a manufacturer in Chicago. So our hardware goes up to about 3,000 hosts per device. So we go up to like some college campus sizes. I think the biggest one we had was a school district in Oklahoma that was pushing about 9,000 hosts through one instance. I mean, he had 48 cores, and he was, he built himself a beast, and that was about the biggest one I've seen, I think, in one box. So we scale pretty big sometimes,
All right.
And John, just to kind of piggyback on that, if you have recommendations on other vendors that you think we should partner with, we're always open to suggestions. We listen to our customer base quite regularly, and that's how a lot of our improvements come about. It's just we listen to our customers and we're like, that's a great idea. So
very nice. Thank you. I
like that.
Yeah, we actually have a feedback site now. To be honest, I mentioned, our software is stable. We're in our 16th year. Untangle's kind of an idea mode now, and we want your ideas. I think it's feedback.untangle.com. You can just do feature requests now for our server product or for our command center cloud product. So if you guys have any ideas for anything like that, like Steve said, just throw them in there. The community and the employees all go upvote ideas, and I mean, we've already implemented quite a few from that site. So like I said, we're a small company. There's about a 7-8 person engineering team that develops that server product. And that's cool because it gives us a lot of agility as a company. We get an idea like that. We can go to Dirk's team and we can say, stop and do this. And they do sometimes, on a dime. So that's a big thing. I can ping the founder of the company in Slack and get a message back in 5 seconds and say, oh, that is a great idea. Yeah, we'll try it tomorrow. If it works, it works, So that's a big part of I think being a Linux product and part of the community, we have a Linux Debian security developer on our development team, so we're pretty in the community. So I think Untangle's around now because of the Linux community, because it was freeware for almost 10 years, and that's what we built this on was their word of mouth in that community. So me at least, I'm still pretty dedicated to helping them out, and this thing always being at least a little bit free,
Nice. All right, Mike and Rick, do you guys have any questions that are burning?
I have one. And when you, Chad, when you said you came up, you have the mobile detection, and are you pushing automatically when I have all my systems with the web filtering on? Are you updating that with more options, or do I got to pull that down?
No, that all updates automatically. Yeah, the web filter, that's actually a really dynamic database. That's from a company called Zavello, if you're curious.
Okay.
And that's all they do. And they have about 600 million sites categorized, and it's all hosted in their cloud. So that's a real time kind of updated. They do all that. You and I don't do all that database. The application control database is a little different. It updates with our version revisions. So it's at 1,971 apps right now.
Right.
So our best feature that we put into version 14.1 is a search box. So you can just type in an app now instead of scrolling through 1,971 apps.
Oh, gosh. Nice.
Hey guys, I got people asking in the chat what the name of that little mini PC was on Amazon.
On Amazon, I'm not sure. This is a Quotum. What's the model? Ours is a U50X. You'd have to look it up on our site. I'm not real sure. It's like a Q31. They're like it's like their little $250 model, something like that.
Quotum.
QOTOM. They're cool little boxes. QOTOM.
Thank you.
I remember reading somewhere about isn't there a difference in that box so that someone made somewhere else or something doesn't run right? Is that?
I don't know of that.
All right, I thought I remember reading it, not on your box, on the
on the Quotum. Well, I don't know. There's been a lot of weird things said about technology built in China lately.
Right. I didn't want to say it that way.
Yeah. No, we're very aware of that. I mean, there's a little post, on our site and stuff like that. There's no vulnerabilities in these boxes, because there were some changes to the manufacturing because of those. So we're aces as far as I know.
Okay.
Nice. John, any other questions?
No, it's been great. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
And,
thank you guys.
Mike, any lasting questions?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. And Rick?
Well, I can ask it offline because this is more about a partner question. So question, so we're good.
Sure, you
All right.
want to ask it now? so
We're all
everybody
friends
can
now.
learn?
Yeah, we're all friends, and I actually did design the partner program. So I am the person to speak to. So
True.
Awesome.
So.
Ask it, Rick. Ask it. Here, man. Come on.
Okay, I'll ask this question.
Because you know everybody else in the chat and it's going to listen has the exact same question.
Well, I'll do it this way. I'll ask this question. All the boxes I've deployed, I've built and put into clients, and then I've basically done. Mike mentioned this as well. I basically use their information, their credit card, and put it in. So, is there a way now, if you're a part of the partner program, to bring those back in to, I guess, see them under the command center?
Yeah, definitely. Command Center is very flexible in the sense that you can set up Command Center in multiple ways. You can create an account, add the appliances with the UIDs specifically to your box. So if your customer hasn't already done that already, you can do that, especially if you have the information, which you should as the administrator.
I do it, right?
Yeah. And then the other way is if the customer has already inputted their information into Command Center and they own the account, they can invite you to go into their organization and be their administrator.
Okay.
Yeah. So they would have to invite you into their organization, but you can administer their boxes for them. And then all you have to do is log into your Command Center account, switch organizations for your different clients, and it'll all show up.
Okay. Because I just basically set it up for them. I create the password and log in anyway. So they don't go in anyway. But okay, so I can bring that over. And I can invite myself to be an admin from each one.
Yeah, and you can set up different users in there now too. So you can do the opposite of an admin. You can create like an accountant role where they only see billing and they don't see servers. So like if you have an accountant or one of those, clients has an accountant, they don't want them to log into servers and be able to admin stuff. So we just uncheck that box and we check the access to billing. Okay. So Command Center is really flexible. And honestly, it's like I said, it's getting our most development right now. So it's kind of getting new features every Monday. So I think I know them all. Rick, I'm doing a deep dive webinar on Command Center on Thursday. If you want, it'll be on the YouTube that afternoon. You can register for it, get a link, any of that stuff. But it's going to be me just jabbering about Command Center for 40 minutes. So
maybe I got an email about that.
Nice.
Yeah,
I got a link to all the past webinars in the show notes as well.
Cool.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, Steve, any lasting thoughts on Untangle or anything that we haven't touched on today that you feel people need to know?
No, I think we've covered a broad range. Just, if you need more information, untangle.com has a huge repository of information there. We have a wiki, we have a knowledge base, we have articles, blogs, everything. Like Chad says, we do webinars constantly. So if you have, questions on specific features, just sign up for a webinar, go to our YouTube, watch some old webinars that we have. It's all there. We don't make any kind of, we don't try to hide anything really. And if you're looking for, sales questions or like that, just email us, sales@untangle.com. And one of our salespeople will get back to you if you have questions on, competitive positioning, all those kinds of things. And then our pricing is pretty straightforward on our website. And if you want to apply to be a partner, the application's on our website as well. And, it's pretty easy. So.
All right. Excellent. And Chad, any lasting thoughts?
I was just going to say, if you have more, I guess more technical questions, architecture deployment questions, you can email me and the other sales engineer at presales@untangle.com. You can also email info@untangle.com. So like I said, I'm our brand rep on Spiceworks as well. I'm sure a lot of us have Spiceworks accounts in here. If you type the word Untangle into Spiceworks, it'll ping me. If you type the word NGFW, Firewall, we try to do a lot of self-service, like Steve was saying. We've got our YouTube and all that stuff. But I will put this support team up against anybody's in this industry, and I'll do it every day. If you're an Untangle customer and you have live support, get on the phone with these guys because you'll get fixed soon. But like I said, we're all available. This is a real chill little company. If you need help, you're going to get help from like 3 of us minimum. So just let us know if you have any questions, though.
That is awesome. I appreciate you guys coming on the show, and we will have all your information and where people can contact you. And obviously, John's put together I'm sure it's going to be a robust list of links and other things while he's been sitting there and typing away. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate the opportunity to speak with all of you guys on this panel. So
appreciate having you guys come out. And
thank you guys.
Yep. And I just want to thank Paco LeBron also for setting this up. And I know he just became an Untangle partner and said that this was the way he was going to go. And it's going to be a very interesting year with people in this community starting to use your product, and obviously the others that have been around using it. So excited about that and appreciate what he put forth to get this all set up.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Rick, you wanted people to know where to find out more about you, where would they go?
Don't look for me. You can reach me always at rick@renactus.com. And I'm on the secret Facebook group page. So I'll see you guys around.
Okay, sounds good. And Mr. Mike Smith, where can people find you all over the internet?
Best way to start is miketechshow.com. And there you'll have links to my consulting company, the podcasts, and certainly any emails, miketechshow@gmail.com.
Awesome. Appreciate you coming out and sharing with us today.
Thank you.
And John, where can people find you at?
I look forward to seeing everybody at the CRP group, obviously, and a little shout out to Mike for joining us too. Hey, everybody, Tech Vets is back too, and the last show was great, Mike. Thanks.
Yep.
So see everybody on the CRP group.
Awesome, man. And so for those that don't know what John's talking about or any of these other people are talking about, if you'd like to support what we're doing here, I encourage you to go to patreon.com/computer repair podcast. We have a newest Patreon supporter is Tom Bull. He just joined, I think at the end of last year. So just a few weeks ago, and appreciate that. I want to thank all of our Patreon supporters for your continued support. What that does is $1 a show. We do anywhere between 2 and 5 shows a month. So you're looking at the most $5, right? You know, I don't know, skip a Starbucks coffee or something like that. And anyways, it supports what we're doing here. When we need to upgrade equipment or pay for hosting, et cetera, all that stuff, it definitely helps. And what that does, that gets you into our secret Facebook group where you have a group of people who are nice and will answer the questions no matter how simple. And you can share your actual honest, open thoughts, and people will not make fun of you because I have John Dubinsky and Paco LeBron that will kick you out in a heartbeat, and they don't even have to ask my permission. If you're not nice, they're gonna kick you out. We've got 100 people in that group right now, and it has been a absolute pleasure over the last year of watching people comment and helping each other out, and that's what this community is all about. So I encourage everybody to go over there, patreon.com/computer repair podcast, and sign up today. All right, so if you all want to come join us live for the Computer Repair Podcast every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern over at podnest.com/CRP Live, then do that. Show up, and also you can hang out in the chat room and share back and forth. We're always monitoring the chat room and seeing what's going on. Most of my guests are actually monitoring more than I am because I'm trying to keep things going, but there's a lot of good conversation, and sometimes we pull questions and things out of there. So it's a great way to interact while we're live. You can send an email to podnuts@podnuts.com or leave a voicemail at 734-335-1000. I want to thank everyone for listening and subscribing to the show. We'll see you next time on the Computer Repair Podcast.